The Microsoft acquisition has officially been put on pause. It looks like the FTC is truly pulling out all the stops. What's up, everybody? So the FTC went in front of a judge and asked that they block the acquisition, a temporary block. And throughout this entire thing, it's turned into a saga. And I never really understood what was the big deal. And I always looked at it as an opportunity, obviously, for Xbox, but for Sony too, to really dig deep and start stretching their creative muscles to create great alternatives to what Activision is selling. And then obviously there's the hypocrisy in the FTC targeting the Xbox or Microsoft acquisition, right? So you're overlooking the Amazons who just kicked someone off their servers for, who knows what, for reasons. And then you have the Googles and the YouTube and all that good stuff. So I wonder, did they have any guardrails on them from the FTC? Did they have to make any deals with the FTC that they were slow down their expansions for 10 years so that other companies could catch up? And seriously, if someone can answer that question for me in the comments, I would really appreciate it. I'm truly interested. And I never really thought I was alone in thinking this way. It's definitely split. You got a lot of people on either side of this debate, but now Asmongold, someone high profile, is giving their opinion on it. And he said, how the F are these clowns doing this, but somehow turn a blind eye when the Google Play Store and Apple Play Store have 99% market share on the monetization and distribution of smartphone apps, something nearly every American uses. Is the FTC full of PlayStation fanboys? Now, obviously, I agree with that sentiment. Because that's what I've been saying from the beginning of this entire thing blowing up the way that it has. But let's take a look at what the FTC actually has to say about it. So this one's going to be coming from Reuters. U.S. judge temporarily blocks Microsoft acquisition of Activision by David Shepardson. A U.S. judge late on Tuesday granted the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, requested to temporarily block Microsoft Core's acquisition of video game maker, good lord, Activision Blizzard, instead of hearing next week. U.S. District Judge Edward Davila scheduled a 2-day evidentiary hearing on the FTC's request for a preliminary injunction for June 2022 to 23 in San Francisco. Without a court order, Microsoft could have closed on the $69 billion deal as early as Friday. The FTC, which enforces antitrust law, asked an administrative judge to block the transaction in early December. An evidential hearing in the administrative proceeding is set to begin August 2nd. And from my understanding, what they were going to do was continue with the acquisition without the CMA, and that's the UK-based. I can't remember the name of it, but it's the FTC in the UK. Right? So they were going to press ahead with the acquisition without the okay of the CMA. But this definitely puts a wrench in their plans. Based on a late June hearing, the federal court would decide whether a preliminary injunction, which would last during the administrative review of the case, is necessary. The FTC sought the temporary block on Monday. Davila said the temporary restraining order issued on Tuesday is necessary to maintain the status quo while the complaint is pending and preserve the court's ability to order effective relief in the event it determines a preliminary injunction is warranted, and preserve the FTC's ability to obtain an effective permanent remedy in the event that it prevails in its pending administrative proceeding. So basically, what this says is we're going to give the FTC time to gather evidence to see if this is, worth putting a kibosh on, or if, we can just go ahead and say that the acquisition seems okay and up to par, above board. That's what it says to me. Anyway, Microsoft and Activision must submit legal arguments opposing their preliminary injunction by June 16th. The FTC must reply on June 20th. Activision, which said Monday the FTC decision to seek a federal court order was a welcome update and one that accelerates the legal process. And that's one thing that they've been looking to do. They've got major wins under their belt for this acquisition. The only ones that are opposing it is the US and the UK. So everyone else is on board with acquisition. Now, I will say, just because the majority of anyone says this is the right thing to do, doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Just puts people in their corner that's like, putting pressure on the CMA and the FTC. But just to get back to what Activision said, they're welcoming it because they were thinking that this legal process was going to take, a few years to get over. So they're happy that they can, take care of this and, maybe within the year. Anyway, moving on. Microsoft said Tuesday accelerating the legal process in the US will ultimately bring more choice and competition to the game market. A temporary restraining order makes sense until we can receive a decision from the court, which is moving swiftly. The FTC signed a comment, obviously they did. Davila said to the bar on closing will remain in place until at least 5 days after the court rules on the preliminary injunction request. The FTC has argued the transaction would give Microsoft's video game console Xbox exclusive access to Activision games, leaving Nintendo, which Nintendo could care less, consoles in Sony Group core, PlayStation out in the cold. Microsoft's bid to acquire the Call of Duty video game maker was approved by the EU in May, but British competition authorities blocked the takeover in April. Microsoft has said the deal would benefit gamers and gaming companies alike, and has offered to sign a legally binding consent decree with the FTC to provide Call of Duty games to rivals, including Sony, for a decade. The case reflects the muscular approach to antitrust enforcement taken by the administration of U.S. President Joe Biden. So, like I mentioned during the article, this looks like the FTC's chance to buy some time to gather evidence against the acquisition. And I feel like the relevant question to ask is, why down this hill? Especially when Xbox, out of the, Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox is trailing behind the two. So why are we looking, putting a magnifying glass on Xbox? And you really have to ask yourself, is this purchase really the most egregious? I mean, there are companies right now that are buying up real estate and, making American citizens permanent renters. Is this really the best way to spend your time? But let me know what you think about all that in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video or found it informative, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. And until then, keep it casual. Peace.